welcome to the CNBC TV 18 special. We're coming to you from the World Economic Forum in Davos. Part of the conversations here in Davos continue to be on the need for greater gender parity. The business argument for that has been made over the years. It is clear, it has been acknowledged, but a lot more needs to be done, and that's exactly what we're attempting to do through the conversations that we're having here in Davos. Joining me now, a very special set of guests. Vinita Jain, the founder of one of India's oldest homegrown D2C brands, Biotique. Vinita, thanks very much for joining us. Also with us, Romal Shetty. Romal, thanks very much for joining us. And Romal, thank you very much for joining us. It's very rare that we actually have more women on a panel than men, but it's wonderful to have you, and thank you for joining the conversation on Powered by Parity. And Debjani Ghosh of NASSCOM. And here's an interesting story that I want to tell. It was a little over maybe 10 years ago that Debjani and I were in a similar panel, and she said to me that where are the role models in India? You either have Mother Teresa or Katrina Kaif, and there's no one in the middle. And that statement, Debjani, forced me to start an entire range of programming on CNBC TV 18. So thank you for the original idea, and that has really been the start of our journey here on CNBC TV 18 on why parity is important and the kind of economic opportunity that unleashes. So without further ado, Debjani, let me start by talking to you. Do we now have somewhere in the middle between Katrina Kaif and Mother Teresa in terms of role models?
We have you, girl, and you rock. No, absolutely. I mean, there are just so many amazing women, right? Whether you look at industry, you look at startups, amongst the founders, government. I mean, it feels proud when you look around, and especially in India. When you look around in India and you see the kind of women, the kind of work they're doing, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, one of our successful entrepreneurs who started a company well before startups were being acknowledged in India. Vinita, you know, yours is a fascinating story because you came from a Marwari background where women were not encouraged to work and certainly not encouraged to start their own businesses or start their own ventures. What gave you the courage? What gave you the audacity to start then?
It was a passion. It is a passion. I grew up in the Himalayan mountains in my grandfather's tea plantations where I studied the ancient sciences of Ayurveda, yoga and meditation, and I learned original Sanskrit. I combined it with 21st century biotechnology, so I combined the best of the East and the West and to preserve health and beauty for a lifetime, because Ayurveda is the only science in the world who has found the elixir of youth.
Well, yes, and joining us now on the panel is Priya Agarwal as well. Priya, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you being here, Priya. And I want to understand from you, we were just talking to Vinita about how she decided to get started and set up her own company, Biotique. And it's not very usual that we see in large Indian business families that women get to have a seat at the table. But your story is different. How did that come about?
So, I was lucky. That was never a cause for differentiation in our family. My brother and I were treated as, as equals, and wherever our dream and passion lied, honestly, we were pushed and always supported to head towards that direction. So really, I am lucky, and especially in the sector that we are in, which is mining. It's quite a male-dominated sector, usually known as a male-dominated sector, but with with everything that's happening today, it's amazing how it's transforming. Today, really, we're close to getting 30% women in our leadership. We have underground mines almost run by women underground, and in 2019 women were allowed to were legalized in India to go underground. We were the first company in Hindustan Zinc to get women underground, and it's amazing. I mean, I have goosebumps because
I have goosebumps listening to you say that.
When I speak to them, they say the safest we ever feel is when we are underground. And these are women who are lifting forklifts, who are doing the first rescue team of India, all women. The kind of things that they're doing, these are women, from Rajasthan who used to cover their head. And now they're here underground and doing all of this. So honestly, they inspire me every day. So if they can do it, there's no looking back.
No, I absolutely agree with you. But what I want to understand from you, Priya, is what made that 30% happen? What were the steps, what were the measures that you took to make that 30% happen, as well as to get women to do what traditionally has been a male-dominated industry? I mean, how did you get more women to come into mining?
Firstly, it's a mindset change. There's nothing a woman can't do. And when you see these reports that say, whether the World Economic Forum report saying that we're 121 years behind, the rest of the world, we don't have that much time. And you have reports saying that if 50% of our population, women, were in the workforce, the kind of, if we want that $5 trillion economy, it's not going to happen, or it's going to happen much quicker if we get our women working. And these are facts that we have to keep in mind. And looking at these facts, I think it's almost natural to do what we can to ensure that in every aspect of life we encourage them to join the workforce. And that really was the moment. I was a young woman when I joined the board. And at that time, I was the only woman and very young and a very nervous, anxious young woman on the board. But that was definitely one change that I knew,
that you had to drive.
I had to drive, and today we can see that happening. And it's only the support from not only the family but the entire management, the entire leadership. There's no the kind of policies that
Right.
they are creating. So it's really. It's a great welcome.
Usually we have only men on a panel. Today it's nice to see the men in minority. Romal, thanks very much for joining the conversation. But we've been talking about this for over a year now, Romal, since the time that we started this massive campaign on CNBC TV 18. And as Priya said, it requires commitment from the very top to ensure that you drive that change, that you bring in a facilitative policy environment that makes it truly an equal opportunity workplace. What are you seeing on that front today? Not just an acknowledgement, but actual action.
Yeah, so clearly I think, when we come back to our own business, I think the acknowledgement is important that in consulting, your solution is better if you really have a diverse team. And I think our clients realize that as well. All right, and sometimes when we're even in pitches, they're actually asking that,
where are the women?
Yeah, where is your diversity really? So that's the first thing. The second bit is also to ensure that you take certain steps. For example, in our case, when I became the CEO, the first decision was to have at least 30%. In fact, we have 33% of our leadership team as women. And one of the things was always said is that, only people at this rank are eligible. I think leadership is about potential, not about your past performance. And if you can identify in women, so I think that is very important. The third is we dealt from a philosophy of mentorship to sponsorship. Mentorship is about guiding people. Sponsorship is about actually helping you cross the line. So every one of our partners, we've got 500 partners, actually has 2 women candidates who they're sponsors for, not mentors for. So that actually also forces change as well. And we're talking about AI. So I'll tell you what we have done in AI. We've built a bias tool, an unconscious bias tool, to actually see what are the biases within. So within the firm, within the
What are the top 3?
Right? It's clearly that not capable, right? Or if you're a mother, for example, you want travel. Now, women actually says, did you ask me first of all?
Yeah.
Or did you just form an opinion that I can't do X or Y, right? And mining or anything else, our head of innovation, somebody who leads our digital innovation, is actually a lady, right?
Yeah.
So it's all these myths which women can't sell.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing. All myths have been broken, and I guess when you when you put those role models out there, I think people realize that this is good for the business, good for everything. So it's just a mindset.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It is not just a social imperative, but it's also a business imperative. But Devdani, let's talk about. You've got 2 mics coming at you, but let's talk about technology, because here we got an example where technology is actually being used to filter out the biases that may exist or that companies may encounter. But let's talk about the skills gap, because the fear is that as we move more into a digital world, that the women will fall further behind when it comes to skills for the future. Is that a fear that you believe is warranted, legitimate, and what needs to be done to address it?
It's actually a huge opportunity for women. Our industry, the tech industry, needs women like we have never needed them before, right? Today, we've already crossed 50% at hiring. Around 52% of new entrants into the industry are women. Right. On an average, it's around 36%, but globally, that's a fantastic number. We'll keep improving. the skill gap is becoming so big that we cannot afford to look at the existing legacy talent pool, which is largely male. We have to look at newer talent pools. We have to create newer talent.